at the beginning of the world's understanding of COVID-19, and each country around the world and leaders trying to make sense of how to protect their citizens, the idea of a lockdown became a universal reality. Started in the East, we saw parts of it in Europe, eventually it found its way to South Africa. What I enjoyed at the beginning, I think, was this understanding that we are truly, truly insignificant in the bigger scheme of things. It was a sobering acceptance, but was good. The second was this emerging sense of community of people who are looking out for each other, checking in, just making certain that you are sane, somehow emerging with your mental health after such a stretch and exposure to emotional angst would count as a prize. Yet I also saw something else that was concerning for me, a competitive spirit that emerged. You know, the implication that if you emerged out of this lockdown without a new skill, without having mastered how to bake banana bread, then you'd have wasted a crisis. And I sat back and I said to myself, but why? Why are we turning a situation that none of us have ever been in? Why are we turning this into yet another thing to separate us? You know, why should it be competitive? Why should it be a race to the finish? And let's see who's gathered the most misery, the most scars, the most stories, the most this. It doesn't matter, because your race is your race. My race is my race. And how you respond and react to crisis is different from how I do it. And that should be okay. But we cannot make people feel inadequate because they haven't figured out how to make homemade oat milk. That's not a measure of success, because you don't know what their goals are. So how about we just say, as you evolve and make sense of an emerging normal, may all the things that you cradled in your heart for yourself, for your family, and for those you love and hold dear, may all those things come to pass. And just leave it at that. For you, it may be banana bread. For somebody else, it's learning how to play a musical instrument. For someone else, it's growing their hair. You know, whatever it is, whatever you have chosen to do in dealing with the crisis that the world finds itself in during this COVID-19 adjustment period, that is okay. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't need validation from anybody. However you are trying to make your way through it is the best way you know how. And that should be enough. So I think perhaps let me offer this as, as a coping mechanism. So next time somebody says, what have you done with your 100 days in lockdown? Perhaps the perfect response is, I lived. You know? And as you reflect on your own behavior and thoughts and accomplishments, or the things that you've just challenged yourself to understand, do, and embrace, remember that, so that when you're stacking them up, it doesn't feel like you haven't achieved anything, if achievement is even the correct word, you know? So for everything that you wanted to do that you may not have done, ask yourself this question: what did you do instead? And I'd love to think that you accomplished something else, you know? You may not have picked up your camera as you had intended to, but perhaps you started writing poetry. Maybe you didn't journal as you may have wanted to, but you got to know your neighbor, you know? So when you are evaluating, remember to always balance your view. So you may not have done X, but what did you do instead? Because even in those moments when we're looking at what else we did, we find ways to continue to be kind and supportive of ourselves and loving to ourselves and giving ourselves those hugs and the love we so desperately need to keep us warm and to keep us moving forward. So instead of the long list that you may have entered this lockdown with, and you're going through it and you're wondering, what did I do? A new question perhaps would be, what did I do instead? And I know that you'd have done something else. If you look at it with new eyes and a fresh perspective, you may see that everything you have done has just helped you move forward and, above all, stay alive. As always, I wish you courage and clarity. And until next time, namaste.